Okay, we're live now. Go ahead, Hayden.
Thanks, Malva. Good evening, everyone. My name is Hayden Jason Jones. I am your moderator for tonight's final webinar in CCaDiRA's three-part informational series amid COVID-19. I'd like to say a special welcome to you all. For those of you that don't know us, CCaDiRA stands for Canadian Caribbean Disaster Relief Actions. We are the umbrella organization for disaster preparedness committees of the Caribbean diaspora in the Greater Toronto Area. Tonight, we'll be addressing the very serious topic of coping with mental health amid COVID-19, a child and youth perspective. Before I begin, I'd like to take this opportunity just to say thanks to my team. You can't see them, but they've been working relentlessly behind the scenes. Eric Delfish, Gideon Exeter, Unison Joseph, Melba De Silva, Tony Knight, and Naomi Jules. Thank you for all your hard work. It's been truly a team effort. Now, as we know, this pandemic has affected most everyone on the planet. The incident rates and jobless numbers are continuing to rise. As of this morning, Ontario had over 20,000 confirmed cases, with over 15,000 of them being recovered and over 1,700 of them ended up in death. Compared to Canada, overall, we had over 71,000 confirmed cases. Recovered, we had over 34,000. And deaths, we had just over 5,000. And worldwide, we had over 4.3 million cases, with 1.5 or more than that recovering. And deaths, we had over 292,000. Now, the job loss rate for April was worse than the economists had predicted or expected. Canada, we saw job loss of about 2 million jobs. And in Ontario, we saw a jobless rate go from 7.6 in March to 11.3 in April. Now, I'm sharing these numbers with you just to inform you. I'm not here to depress you. And again, I just wanted to make note, I did it last week on our last webinar, about the recovery rate in Ontario. It's last week, it was at 7% compared to Canada, which was at 40%, and the world, which was at 33%. Now, that has even increased. So I'm happy to say I'm happy about that number as an Ontarian. But I do encourage you, listen to the professionals, do what they say you need to do. If it's social distancing, if it's wearing your mask, if it's wearing gloves, please go ahead and do that in order to maintain or keep yourself safe. Now, moving forward to the main event of the evening, I'd like to introduce your panelists for this evening's webinar. They're here to educate you and to answer any questions you have on mental health. First, we have Keith Cunningham, a licensed clinical mental health and trauma specialist with the College of Registered Psychotherapists of Ontario. Keith provides individual and family therapy to children, youth, and their families across Toronto. He's also a social justice advocate who challenges anti-Black racism and other systemic issues disproportionately affecting Black people in Canada and elsewhere. Keith believes everyone has the potential to succeed with adequate and meaningful access to appropriate resources and supports as needed. Now, Keith was actually on our webinar last week, and he did a fine job. And so we asked him to come back and assist us with this one. With him this week, we have Amanda Simonato. She's a child and youth worker. And over the last 20 years, she's been working with child protection, custody, supervision of group homes, and within the public school system. So Amanda, I welcome you to our discussion and this webinar. Now, before I begin, I just want to take care of a couple of housekeeping items. If you could, and I do encourage you to, if you have questions, just to put them in the chat box, either on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page in the chat box. I would also encourage you to add your email address, just in case we don't get to your questions, and we can reach out to you afterwards and send you the answers to your questions. And the last thing I wanted to mention was the fact that we do have a list of resources, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and post them to our Facebook page. So anybody that's watching this, or even you watch it after, please go over to our Facebook page, and there'll be a list of our resources, our available resources to you as a parent and child as well, and youth. Okay, so to begin tonight's discussion, I'd like to start off by asking Keith and Amanda to share their thoughts with us on the following. According to the Toronto Star, calls to the teen hotline has doubled during the pandemic. Physical, sexual, and emotional abuse have jumped 19 to 26% since March. It is a sustained increase that does not seem to be going down. At the same time, police forces and child welfare agencies across the country, including the CAS of Toronto, say overall volume of suspected child abuse reports have dropped between 30 and 40%. Now, there's an obvious disconnect between the two. My question to Keith and Amanda would be, how would you explain this disparity between the two? And we can start with Keith.
I was hoping that you'd have gone with Amanda. Thank you.
You're on the spot.
I don't know if there's only one answer to the question.
Yeah.
I would first look to what's happening with CS. And with CS, when you think about the pandemic, when you think about spaces to put young people, there may be a system change in how they do their work. There used to be apprehension, there used to be removal, but where are they going to remove individuals to when there is stay-at-home, when there's a stay-at-home order? So when you look at that, perhaps they are doing other things to support family members to manage some of the issues that might be surfacing. The other piece that is going through the kids helpline is also a way to manage the multiple issues that are surfacing that parents and family members might not be able to deal with because of the other things that they are dealing with themselves. So we are in a difficult time, a challenging time where there are multiple intersecting issues that people are grappling with. And so things that persons might have been able to reach out to family members and their support network to address, their support network might be impaired or challenged as well. And people are dealing with multiple things on an individual level and collective level, work related as well as personal. So the kids helpline becomes a more immediate resource to address some of those pieces that individual family members might have felt that they can't turn to their network to support. So there could be multiple things that is causing those disparities, and I can't pin any one issue that is causing that.
Yeah, interesting. Just looking at the statistics, 19 to 26% increase in March. That's, physical, sexual, emotional abuse has jumped, but yet still the calls are not. So perhaps, the children or the people that usually would call are not in a position to be able to call. Perhaps the abuser is right there. Perhaps they're living in the environment where the perpetrator is, or the abuser, or so they're afraid. Perhaps, maybe. I'm just thinking out loud here.
I think the other piece of that is they're not in school. They're not seeing teachers, and their supports at school aren't seeing the kids either to maybe make those reports because they're concerned about something that is happening at home. So that's another piece of that too.
Yes, that's an excellent point. Yes, yes. Okay. Any other thoughts on that question?
I think it will be interesting to see after the pandemic, or when things have settled down to some extent. I don't know if we are going to we can speak about going back to normal, because there is no normal after this. Yeah. And what normal look like pre-pandemic is going to look different from post-pandemic, but it would be interesting to see what the reports are going to be generating and what would be generated from the report when this is over, to see some of the other issues or the presented issues and why there is increase in reporting. It would be interesting to see that kind of reporting and how the information is captured post the COVID-19.
Yeah, hopefully, as accurate as possible, because we know information is what it
Yes.
is, unfortunately. But yeah, hopefully. But yeah, things will never be the same, and the normal, like as we knew it before, will no longer be. Okay, moving along. So here's another situation for you. Parents are struggling with the huge time pressures. They're working remotely or not, while having kids off, and have no functional support. So no childcare, no after school program.
Mhm.
What can you say to these parents? How can you help them?
So I think one of the things from that I've been encouraging the parents that I worked with, that I'm working with, who are at home, where their kids are at home and they're trying to teach while they're home and everything else that's going on, is that they need to do what works for their family. And they need to take care of themselves. And they also need to be very kind to themselves, because they're not teachers. They don't have to do everything all at once. So I think it's important for families to figure out what works for them. And that may mean, trying to figure out the new normal within their home life. And it may mean homework gets put off to the side right now, and that's okay. And they may be doing more family things and cooking together and going outside and going for walks together and, those type of things. I think families need to look at what works for them right now.
Okay. Keith,
And
your
in
perspective?
addition to what Amanda said, I would also say that try to create some routine.
Yeah.
Identify what works for your children. Try new things. Also, it may also help you. Used to be the leader who is directing. The parents direct everything. Possibly allow the children to also take some of the responsibility to identify what they want to do, and also possible host family meetings and get from the family what are some of the things that they want to do, and help the children to develop some of those leadership skills, because when children are involved, I think that's also helped to reduce some of the anxiety, because they're helping to plan. I think something else is also just sitting down with family members and your children to sort of identify what a day is going to look like. Is the work day going to be the same? We go from Monday to Friday. Is this what it's going to be? So we get up, do breakfast together. We plan assignments and homework, and then while you're doing homework, daddy and mommy are doing their professional work. And also, while you may also want to set time for them, do you come back together to do lunch and dinner together? Also, while there may be, some of the children might be anxious in staying by themselves, because at school they used to have the attention of the teachers and all the resources at school. It may be that you can say, you know what, if you're anxious, come and sit by my desk. Or you can pull your blanket, come sit by my desk, and you can work by my desk. So while mommy and daddy is on the phone, you can pull up. Just be respectful of, that mommy and daddy is on the phone. I will give you the best attention possible, but we have to share that time. But you can always bring your book, come lay down beside the desk, bring your blanket, come sit down and lay down beside your desk, and know that you even come and lean up beside my feet, so that that could be a grounding activity for them as well. Just knowing that mommy and daddy is there. So just looking at things that work for them and having that conversation with them, so that they can also be part of the planning, and it's not something being directed down to them, because children oftentimes that's what happens, and not being part of the planning process. So it's about, helping them to start problem solve from early, so they can be part of the planning and the layout of the day, so they feel like, this is part of it. And at the end of the day, if you have time, check in to see how it went. Which part went well, which part didn't go well, how can we tweak this possibly next week or the next day? And then you work along until you can find something that is sync with your family.
Wonderful. This is really good advice for the parents in helping, cope, or helping their children cope, and, helping them to get through this this pandemic as we know it. Now, on the flip side, though, what about the parents who are now put in a position, to increase the amount of time that they're dedicated to, supervising, supporting their children, not just on a regular basis, but through education, homeschooling, and motivation. It's a struggle for many youth. All of the ways of coping and stress relief that they knew, they no longer exist. So, and then to add to that, what if that parent has, a child that is already has issues, that already has emotional issues? How do we speak to? How could you speak to helping that parent from this perspective?
I will go with that. I don't know if there's no fixed way to do this. You have to pull on your strengths and your resources and your limitations. Every one of us have limitations, and of the downside is that not many of us are willing and comfortable to acknowledge our limitations. We always want to be the super mommy or the super daddy, and none of us are super in this situation. Most of us are just trying to get through one day at a time, and we mess up. And when we mess up, we just need to acknowledge that we mess up, and we may just need to turn to our children and say, you know what, I'm really sorry, mommy and daddy mess up right now, but what can we do to fix that tomorrow or the next day? I think it's generosity of spirit, being kind to yourself, as Amanda said. Just being kind to yourself and know that, listen, there's no roadmap to responding to pandemic. This is the very first thing in most of us lifetime, and it may be the last, we don't know. But if we are able to get through this and help our family to get on the other side, then we would have learned something along the way. And I think it's about allowing ourselves to learn along the way, and learning involves making mistakes. And when we make mistakes, we don't have to dwell on the mistake and wallow in it. We can just acknowledge that it's a mistake. We didn't get it right at the first time. What can we do? And even first, second, third, fourth, fifth attempt, even get it perfect. But if we can keep our children safe, that's the outcome. Safety first, and then everything falls in line after that. Safety is priority. So if it means that you may not be able to help your child to submit all of the assignment, and your child can sleep well, that he or she can get through 4 of the 5 assignment, or 3 of the 5 assignment, or 2 of the 5 assignment, your child is showing up and your child is being involved. The child may not, like us, we may not be able to function to our maximum. And so we should also mindful that the child may not be able to function at his or her maximum, and be okay with that. It's about being okay with not being okay. And if we can just be okay with that, then I think that's that stepping stone in the right direction.
Right. Amanda, did you have any?
I was agreeing with Keith the whole time, because absolutely, we just, the parents just need to be kind and work with what they have within their family. Their family is the priority. They need to be safe, and they need to be well as a family, because if they're not well as a family or well themselves, then they can't move forward. So being safe and being well, that's the priority right now. And absolutely, if you can't get everything done, you don't get everything done. You know what? Your child is no further ahead or no further behind come September, when all the kids go back to school. They're all going to be starting at the same, whatever grade they're in or whatever, they're all going to be starting at the same time.
Okay. So, and not to belabor the point, it's just, I guess, in this instance, I'm going to refer to the parents' perspective, in that they are now overwhelmed. They are expected to be the teacher. They're expected to provide a dish, because what, 8 hours or 6 hours of the day, the kids are no longer, they're at school, they're out of the house. So now they're in front of their faces. So parents coping in this situation, could you just throw out some recommendations as far as how they should or could cope?
Be playful. Be playful. Dance around the house if music is your thing.
Yes.
If going for walk is your thing in a safe way, go for walk. If cooking is your thing and you can get your child involved, do that. Do what works for you, and also take little tidbits from others that are doing the same thing. And if you can apply to yourself and to your family. Do it. It may work, it may not work, but use yourself to measure what works and the response of your children and family to determine what works, and then from there try something else. Be willing to be creative.
Yeah.
This calls for creativity. And creativity for one family may look different from another family. So if somebody tried something and it worked, and you think that bits and pieces of what somebody has tried can work with your family, take those bits and pieces and try it. You don't have to take the whole thing. You don't have people want to take the whole thing or the whole plan. It does not always work. Take what works for you as a family, as a parent, and apply it. And remember, make it fun. I cannot overemphasize that. Fun, laughter, be stupid.
Yeah.
Just be stupid, because when you can laugh, it helps to reset your thinking and your frame of mind, and then be able to go back to the problem that you will be facing on a daily basis. So be stupid and be playful.
Amanda, I see you shaking your head. Are you agreeing because you that personally or is this what you would recommend as?
This is what I would absolutely recommend, not personally, but you know what? We're such in unprecedented times right now, and you need to just have fun within your home and figure out what works for you. Absolutely. I agree with all of what Keith's saying. I mean, it's about being able to create those memories. What other time do you have if you're home with your kids right now to create your home 24/7 with your kids right now? Have fun, create some memories with them so that they can look back at the pandemic time and also look and see about all the great things that they did during that time.
Absolutely.
I think another thing that I would also say, stop trying to be perfect for your child. Stop it. Because perfection, we can't present ourselves as perfect and then expecting our children to come talking about their imperfection. Help your child. Just say to your child, you know what, mommy and daddy don't get it right now, and mommy and daddy don't know what to do. What if we just sit together and figure it out together? So your children can also see that you're human and you don't always have it right. You don't always have it all together. So be human. Playful and be human is what I would also say.
Nice. Yes, sounds familiar. I mean, it would certainly take care of the boredom and the cabin fever and just potential conflict that can arise. I think playful, that laughing, playing games, having fun, that certainly can take help get rid of those things that I just mentioned there.
Mhm.
All right. Any other thing before I move on? Any other thoughts on that? No. One other thing I just wanted to really talk about, and I don't know if either of you have encountered this. So, the way we do things, the way we school, apparently this is going to be changing moving forward. There are people, who struggle financially, that is, families who struggle financially. They can't afford Wi-Fi, and some of the courses have been put online, and they find it really challenging to help their children, with their work and stay up, keep up with where they should be in their schooling. Have you guys seen any of this? Have you encountered any of it? And do you have any suggestions to put forth to those people listening to us?
All the schools in Ontario their parents can reach out to any of their child's school if they're having problems with their Wi-Fi, or if they don't even have Wi-Fi or not able to, they need to reach out to their school. Schools have been allotted to be able to give out some Chromebooks and different things like that. And also they're able to do paper packages for the kids. So if you don't have access to the internet and you do need working material for your child, they can actually arrange to make sure that you have working paper, like a paper package to be able to get to your child. So reach out to your school. They absolutely are there to do that, to help you.
In addition to that, there are service organizations as well that are there to help family members to do that advocacy piece, because like some of the work that I do in community, we also help with that aspect of it. So look around, see who is in your in your community, and reach out to them to see if they, because not all parents have the skill sets or the wherewithal to do that piece. So if there's a service provider, a community organization that you can reach out for some direction to say, you know what, I'm having this issue, I'm not sure how to go about it, could you point me in the right direction? Those resources are very readily available and can be sourced. So please feel free to reach out to service providers in your communities and ask for that support, and they will be more than happy to assist.
Perfect. And remember to observe the social distancing.
Yes.
Okay. Now, just I know last week we got into a lot of discussions about Black community and mental health. There's just one question left regarding the Black youths or Black children in our community. Do you see a difference in the way Black children cope during a pandemic? Keith?
I would say yes, because of, again, and we speak about some of the historical pieces last week, and I will go back to that. We have, when we think about how children, with the issues that our Black children are faced with, we have racism, we have anti-Black racism, we have systemic issues, we have suspension, and also how they are accommodated in classrooms and in the schools. And so they also how they have been seen along so many of our young people are struggling with self-esteem issues, anxiety, depression. And so is there accommodation being made for that? And when somebody is entering a pandemic with all of those and predisposed conditions, then it makes it much more challenging for those individuals. The same is true for also individuals with non-visible disabilities as well. So I think I would say yes to the question. And again, mental health support organizations are out there, resources are there in communities. Just reach out. I know it's not always the quickest thing for Black families to reach out for support, because I work in a community organization, and while I see a lot of mothers, Black mothers coming into counseling to support their children, we don't see much Black fathers. And it would have been helpful to see some of the Black fathers entering mental health support organizations to assist their children, and also to learn some tidbits around how to support their children as well, and possibly how to process their own individual issues so that they can better support their children. So it's a wraparound, it's the intersecting pieces, and I don't know if we can separate our children and our young people from their families, because they are socialized a particular way, and plus the systemic issues that they have to grapple with on a daily basis. And so we also need to look at families from a systems perspective, and the intersecting systems and how those are impacting their lives. And with pandemic, that is even more so important.
Right. And so what do you think would be, or would there be a difference? How would a youth process the fact that a father was involved with such activities? You said the mothers come in. What if the father? How would that impact the youth? You think?
I think more so for the young men.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes young men are not taught how to process their feelings and emotions. And we touched on that last week.
Right.
And I think if we can see fathers joining their children, more so the boys or the young men, to process with them and hold that space with them, I think it would help to address some of the masculinity and some of the other issues that they grapple with. So I think we would love to see more fathers entering those spaces with their sons, and also with their daughters, not just sons. But I think we don't see much examples or role models of fathers entering mental health support to support their children or to access support for themselves. So I think that's a key piece to how it would shift, because they want that message. There would be a message to say, you know what, when we are not well, we seek the support. And I think Leo mentioned that last week. He said, when the rain is falling, use an umbrella. But when there's an hurricane, Can we still use an umbrella? We may need to stay indoors. So if something major is happening to our children, we may need to bring the entire family or those support or the caregivers into the discussion so that they can also learn how to support their young children and their teenagers. So I think it's a multi-pronged approach.
Right.
No one approach will fix it. I think it's a multi-pronged approach, but I would encourage, as a Black male myself, and a therapist who haven't seen many Black fathers coming into mental health to seek mental health support. I would love to see more fathers coming in to not only process with their children and to hold space with their children, but also to process their own stuff as well. And I think that would send a different message to their children.
Agreed. Excellent message.
Mhm.
Amanda, do you have any thoughts on the subject?
I mean, listening to Keith, I was his like I just Keith.
Okay, fair enough. I think Keith did a wonderful job of answering the question. Okay. So how do I take care of myself emotionally? I think perhaps we talked about doing things for ourselves by having fun, but emotionally, as a caregiver, how do you take care of yourself? How does the parent take care of themselves emotionally?
I think that parent needs to reach out to their supports, figure out who those supports are, whether it's reaching out to somebody within your church or with your faith-based, another family member, a friend down the street or in the same building as you, knowing who your supports are and just reaching out to them and just having those conversations, and or a quick video chat or whatever that looks like, just to help you reground yourself, right? And to be there to offer you some support. And also remember to be kind to yourself and do the things you also like. Remember those things, if you need to slip away for 10 minutes because your favorite show's coming on and you just really want to just catch the ending of it or the beginning of it, try to incorporate that in your day, right? So that you can rejuvenate and feel better too. So going for a quick walk in the morning or in the afternoon, whatever that looks like, try to incorporate that so that you can take care of you.
Right.
In addition to that, I would say ask for what you need from your network.
Yes.
Don't let them assume. So if you just need somewhere to vent and get your feelings out and your emotions out without somebody saying you need to do this and you need to do that, because we are quick to provide solutions and remedies and quick fix. If that's not what you need, just say, I just need somewhere to vent. So the person can say, I don't have the capacity to provide you that support right now. And then you can go somewhere else. So be direct in asking for what you need.
Be honest,
And be honest with yourself. Just be open and transparent as best as you possibly can. And that's why I would say go to your trusted individuals, go to your trusted network. Because if you don't trust people that we're not going to open up to people that we don't trust.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm saying go to trusted individuals, adults, and Amanda said so many of us are connected to spiritual groups and religious groups. If that's your go-to, go there. If it is about your seniors and your elders, go there. You know what worked for you. Seek them out. Oftentimes we want to close the blinds, pull the windows, and shut the doors and sit in the darkness. That does not help. It does not help because we still have, whatever we do in that darkness, we still have to come back out and face the music, as they would say back in Jamaica. So let's find a way to pull the curtain, turn our face to the light, and be upfront with our feelings and our emotions and seek the support that we need and be transparent as best as we possibly can. You know what transparency look like for you. So be transparent. Transparency for me might look different and in how I engage my network. You know how you engage your network. You know what you need from the people who you love and support over the time. And if you have been supporting them and you want them to support you, you have to be transparent and help them to understand what you need from them and so that they can help you.
Do you think that going into a closet with a pillow and screaming in it is a coping mechanism.
It is a coping mechanism. It is temporary.
Yeah.
It is temporary because sometimes, and it's something that I used to do and still do. I don't do that in Canada. I used to do that back in Jamaica. When I lived in Jamaica and used to leave corporate Jamaica and go home with my father, and I will go to the farm. I will say, Daddy, give me a few minutes. I just want to scream. And I may scream. And after that is done, I said, yes, let's get this work done and over with. Because you know what? It's like a reset. So I would say, do the things that work for you. And it may look ridiculous to others, but if it works for you, it works for you. Again, safety first.
Yes, and I mean, as long as it's not harmful to anybody else, then by all means, you know. Amanda, any other thoughts?
No, again, you just need to parents need to take care of themselves right now to be able to take care of the rest of the family, right? So you need to do, and what works for you, you need to just do it. And you just need to get through and look for your supports.
Nice, okay. Just a reminder to anyone viewing us or listening in, please remember to put your questions in the chat box, either in our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, along with your email address. Again, we'd love to make sure that all your questions are answered, your concerns are addressed. So please remember to do that. Next question.
Aiden, before you go to the next question, too often caregivers feel as if they are there to care for everybody. They need to give space for the others in the home and elsewhere to care for them. If you need a glass of water and your child is going for it, don't tell a child no. Let your child go get the glass of water for you. You need a cup of tea and somebody else can make it for you. You don't need to get up and go make that cup of tea for yourself. Let somebody care for you occasionally. Because as caregivers, we feel like we can do it all and we should be doing it all. Just pause a little and give somebody a chance to take care of you, because that is not something that is often done by caregivers.
Yes, I would agree. I definitely would agree. Speaking from personal experience. Okay, so on to the next question. Important question. So what would you say are the warning signs and risk factors that children or youths with disabilities may be experiencing? You know, what signs, like the emotional stress or anxiety? How do you identify those things? Amanda.
I think some of the things, I mean, each youth is different of signs that they are going to exhibit. However, some of the things that maybe caregivers need to look at is, you know, if a youth is not doing the things that they enjoy doing anymore, or if they're just, you know, if they're disengaging in everything, they're not talking to their friends, they're not video chatting, they're just, you know, not doing their TikTok videos anymore, you know, just not enjoying anything, sleeping a lot, then those are some of definitely of the signs of, you know, taking a look at things a little bit closer. Also physical signs. If your child's complaining all the time of, you know what, I have a headache, stomach ache, I'm having a hard time seeing, all those different things can be signs for a youth for sure too.
Okay. Keith?
I think Amanda touched on most of them, but I would say I would cluster them by saying change in behavior pattern. And so that can be outbursts, aggressive behavior. A child who was never aggressive or did not display those aggressive behavior. If you're seeing that, then that may indicate that you may need to check in with something. If they are withdrawn, that is also a sign to say, you know what's going on. If their sleep-wake pattern has changed, you may want to check in with that. If the child is sleeping too much or is awake for much longer than the time frame that they usually awake, and there's disruption in their sleep-wake pattern, you may want to look at that. If there's changes in their appetite, you may want to check that. A child who had a healthy appetite is now picking around their food. You may want to check that. A child who is having the physical manifestation like pain, headaches, stomach aches, nervousness, all of those are signs that a child is experiencing some changes in their psychological and emotional disposition. And I would suggest that those are telltale signs to check in to say, I've noticed, and name it. Name what you're noticing. Just say you're noticing, just saying to a child that you're noticing a change, the child can say, no, nothing is going on. But if you're saying, you know what, I've noticed that you're picking around your food and it's not just one evening or 1 or 2 evenings, it seems to have been developing over time. And I've seen this change in your pattern. You used to love your favorite food. When I cook your favorite food, you used to have so much and you go for seconds. Now you can't even finish what is on your plate. That may be something to check in for. I noticed that you're restless. I hear you screaming out, you're possibly screaming out in your sleep. What's going on? So check in for those little things, change in behavior patterns, both behavior and physical, how the child look and feel and how they position themselves. Those are things to look out for that could be indicating that there's some maybe there's some elements of stress.
Right. Now, I mean, some kids are master deceivers,
Yes.
you know, going through trauma, going through stress, depression, they can look very normal. But in some instances, as a present parent, you may be able to see through that. But what happens when you say to a child, son or daughter, I noticed that this is happening, or you don't seem to be the same, or I noticed that you weren't sleeping, and they say to you, oh no, everything is okay, I'm good. What type of conversations and what do you recommend to those parents? How would they get help? Like, I mean, the child has to want the help in my estimation. So what can you say to these parents?
I would say first, pull your child in, give your child a hug, express love, show your child love. Talk to your child. You don't have to wait until you start seeing these signs, telltale signs. Just simple check-in. You know what, the pandemic is here. How are you dealing with it? What are your experiences? What are your concerns? So just starting the conversation from day one. You don't have to wait until your child start showing signs of stress. Just check in with your child. Spend some time with your child either in the morning, midday, or in the evening when you're quieting down before bedtime. Just look for those little nuggets of times that you can spend with your child. Pull them in, give them love, lots of love, so that they know, and set the pace so that they know that they can always come to you to talk about what might be going on. And we talk about judgment-free conversation.
Right.
Because oftentimes people have conversation, but in that conversation, there's a lot of things that cause children to not feel comfortable having those conversations. We talk about like individuals who are LGBT identified. When you start talking about issues that may suggest homophobia, transphobia, and other things, then that child is not going to come and have those conversations with you when he or she feels as if you are not being, you use a lot of judgment in how you engage.
Right.
So I would say use judgment-free conversation and approach your child before you start seeing all the behavioral changes, and then just comfort your child to say, you know what, it's okay to talk about things that are not going well, and I'm here should you want to talk.
Okay. And what would be the ultimate outcome? So with the child, so is it to get them to therapy or just to open up to you, just to feel safe? What would you say?
For me,
Go ahead.
For me, I would say it can be a number of things. Because one, it begins at home, and home where it is this close at home, and parents don't have the capacity to deal with it. Then that parent can say, hey, what if we plan to the clinic, to the mental health clinic, and we can get some support. So that child know that yes, mommy and daddy might not be able to support me right now in the home as a family, but we can go as a family to the professionals to get the support. So it's a multi-tier approach. Start with the conversation at home. Let your child know that you are there for them. And if you're not able to provide the full gamut of the support that they need, then seek the other professional support. The other piece that oftentimes we don't draw on is the extended family support. Because again, a lot of people want to cocoon themselves into, you know what, there's a lot of shame and embarrassment in making it seem as if your child is not well. And families, especially there are some families in general who tend to cocoon their families in and their young children and their children in, because you know what, Uncle Tom and Aunt Jane and grandma and grandpa don't need to know this. And extended support is a good way to help your child know that, listen, the family is here for you and we are going to help see you through this. So reach out for support, both extended family support as well as the professional support.
Okay. Amanda, any other thoughts?
All of that. I mean, it's a matter of listening, not talking, listening, to actually listen to what they have to say and being there with them and acknowledging their feelings, that what you're feeling or what you're going through is okay. And, you know, we're all in this together. That is exactly what's happening, right? So listening, really listen, not talk at them, listen.
Yes. It's a great skill.
Hard for some, even as adults.
Yeah. I'm just going to a question here. I see one person is asking, are there more young women seeking mental health? This is specifically having to do with youth and children than the men. So do you see more young ladies or young men, or half-half?
In my professional practice, I've seen more female coming in than males. When I see males coming in, they're either coming in through the courts, because the courts are saying that you need to go deal with anger management. And sometimes I ask the question, is it anger or something else? Because we tend to throw everything on the anger and clump it on the anger, when it could be so many other things that are going on with our young people. But that's the way it manifests itself in young men. So I would say there is more. It seems more normalized for females to go for mental health support than for males. And we are seeing that in our young people as well.
Yes.
I would definitely agree with that for sure.
Okay. All right. But I mean, it would make sense. I mean, hopefully this changes, the pattern changes, but men typically, don't reach out for help unless it gets to a point where they have to. But hopefully that changes, where we're seeing more young men and male adults reaching out.
And the notion is that something is wrong with you, not that something has happened.
Yeah.
And if we may need to change. It's about changing the language. What has happened to you, not what is wrong with you. Because when we send those messages that something is wrong with you, nobody wants to feel like something is wrong with them. But if they can say, you know what, something has happened, let's talk about what's happened to you and how it is impacting your own growth and development and your own processing skills and your mental health and your physical health, then that's a different message. But when it's framed as if something is wrong with you, then nobody wants to feel like something is wrong with them. But the conversation should be, what has happened? Let's talk about what has happened and the impact it has had on you, and then we can start processing that.
Right. I'm looking at a comment here that from one of our viewers. She says, "My home has become the playground for my grandchildren. Keeping house is just to ensure cleanliness, a safety measure from COVID-19." Hey, I'm that person. My grandson is here. He runs around. I'm happy to be here with him, spending this time. So I certainly can identify with that. Let me just check and see any more questions here. Okay. So here's another question for you. How important is socialization, and how can children and youth engage with each other without leaving the house? Amanda?
I think socialization is a big piece for the kids what we're seeing, what I'm seeing right now within my work at the school, is that the kids are definitely connecting through any type of video chat or social media, whether it's FaceTime or Google Hangouts. There's actually an app where the kids can play games together on, and they can all invite each other and play board games together. We're definitely seeing when we have classroom-wide like Google Meets with the kids, they're soaking it in. They're so excited to see one another and just find out how everybody's doing. It's about, I think for them, it's to see their friends and see that they're okay, right? To say, hey, there's, you look good, you are okay, things are going well. So socialization right now is a really big piece. We have families and friends of mine who are setting up video play dates with the younger kids. So they do challenges, right? So they'll set out a challenge. Okay, let's see who can build the biggest Lego tower or whatever it is. And then they do the video for the younger ones together so they can play together, have tea parties together, those type of things. So I think that is being creative and coming up with different things to socialize them when they can't go out and socialize is really important right now.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, luckily the kids these days, they're like, social media they were born into it. So, to feel comfortable socializing, where perhaps us older people, sorry, yeah, older, not old.
Older. Older.
18-year-olds, yeah. Yeah, so it's easy for them. It's easier for them to do that. So that's good. That's good to know that.
And be fun and be creative, right? Like put a scavenger hunt together for them to do in the home or outside in the backyard, right? And then the kids can all use their whatever technology they're using and have that little scavenger hunt together. So just being creative with your friends and your family to try to figure it out, then that's definitely the way to go and get them socializing.
Right. I'm just noticing the time. We have about 10 more minutes. So I'm just going to take a couple more questions and then wrap up. But this question here, it says that, it says, how does the sun and lack of exposure to it and fresh air affect the mental health of our youth and children? Amanda, feel free to go ahead.
I think it would, for kids and even for adults, I notice it. I'm working from home. So if I spend my whole day in my office in front of the computer and haven't gone outside or seen the sun, I can definitely feel the difference. I need to even just get out. So for our kids, right, it just refreshes you. It resets your mind. It gives you that break. So it's really important to try to get the kids out, whether that be to step out into the balcony and just sit out there for 5-10 minutes and just breathe in the air and get some sunlight, or going for a quick walk around the block or around your yard, whatever that looks like. It's really important for the kids to get out and just kind of get that fresh air in them, and for adults too, right? To do the reset. It's your well-being. It's one of the important pieces.
Right. Keith, any thoughts? Sorry. Oh, I think we're having some technical.
Yeah. If it's going out all the time.
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties with Keith. I think.
I see now.
You're there, but we can hardly hear. I think the Wi-Fi on your end may be fluctuating. Okay, let's we'll come back to you. Hopefully you rejoin us. I hope you rejoin us. Let's move on to another question, and this one, Keith, are you there? No. Okay, so somebody put this question out there. I think I'd mentioned it briefly, but
are you back?
I am back. Sorry about that. So I would say I support what Amanda said, and it's about planning your day. So during lunchtime, could you just take a sandwich? And I've encouraged parents to make sandwich possible one day a week where you just take a sandwich and go for a walk in the sun at lunchtime. Those are little things that you can do. You can possibly, you know what, while you may not be able to gather in the park and do all the other things, what about going to the backyard and spread a blanket and just sit and just have a picnic in the backyard? Those are creative ways, and we talk about being creative. It's about finding the creative ways to get in as much energy from the sun as possible. But possibly in the evening when you're finished working, you finish at 5 o'clock or 4:30. What if you take the children and go for a walk?
Right.
Those are creative ways to do things. For me, like Amanda, I love the sun. So if I am having a phone call, I will possibly take my phone and sit outside where I'm getting some sun and have that phone meeting. And then if I'm not able to get outside for some reasons, most of the meetings now are on Zoom and Microsoft Teams. So I don't get to go outside, and a day will run by where I'm just sitting in the computer, beside in front of the computer, doing all of these meetings and having these meetings. And so what I will do at 5 o'clock, I will shut my laptop down and close my work day, and I will put on some clothes and go for a walk. If I'm not walking, I will find somewhere where I can get enough sunlight, 30 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour, and just sit. And I don't wear glasses when I go to this for the sun. I leave my eyes bare so I can enjoy that. And so these are my ways of taking care of me. And I would suggest parents do the same. I also go for morning walks. So do what works for you or try new things. And it goes back to when we say be creative and make it fun.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So final question. It comes from one of our audience members, and it says, what advice would you give to parents that have children with mental health issues at home?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's about trying different things, but also reaching out to the professionals.
Mhm.
It's always good to reach out to the professionals, because while the professionals might not be able to give you full on support, they can also help to identify some of the things that you can do at home. You can talk about some things that you're doing, and don't just leave it all up to the professionals. You know your child, tap into some of the skills that they have, validation of their experiences, listening to what is going on, because oftentimes what children will say, my parents don't take time to understand what I'm saying. So listening is a very important piece. Before you jump to anything, listen, ask question, ask clarifying question. What does that mean? Where are you feeling it in your body? What does it look like? Can you explain it? If they cannot explain it, can you write it? And so you can have a full understanding of what's going on. Then you can see, I can help here, I cannot help here, I can help here, I cannot help here. And then the ones that you can help with, you help with those, and the ones that you cannot help with, seek the help that you need.
Okay. Amanda, last word.
Everything that Keith said. I mean, reaching out to your supports, reaching out to the professional supports that are out there. I know it's different now, but our doctors are still working in a sense of taking telephone calls. Walk-in clinics are still taking walk-in like over the phone. So using those professional services if needed. But Keith's right. Your child, listen to them, acknowledge what they're going through, acknowledge their feelings, and then make a plan and go from there.
Okay, wonderful. Wow, I can't believe it's come to that time already. We're 4 minutes to 8, and thank you guys. This has been a really wonderful discussion as usual. Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. But if I were to sum up some of the takeaways from this evening's discussion for the parent, I would say there would be, you need to empower your children to make choices, encourage open and honest communication. As the temporary norm becomes the new norm, try to find a modified routine. Also, I would say model positive thinking and healthy behaviors. Both Keith and Amanda spoke about that. The other thing is, and I don't think we really touched on it, is we should monitor media and online exposure.
Yes.
That's very
important.
Very important.
We didn't get an opportunity to speak about that. And the other thing, the last piece I would mention is just to make time to play, have fun, be silly. Enjoy the time while you're home with your family, your children, spouse, whoever. Who knows when you'll be able to do this again.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let me say a special thank you to the audience for gathering up mustering up the courage to attend this evening's webinar. Please reach out for help. I can't stress enough. This is so important. Mental health is a vital part of everyone's well-being. Keith, thank you again. This is your second time around. Amanda, wonderful job. My sincerest thanks for doing, donating the time to this worthy cause. And my team, I couldn't be here without you. Thanks for your unwavering support and contributions for making this event a success. And just before I wrap up, I'd like to ask the chairman of CCaDiRA, Unison Joseph, to close us out. Unison, are you there? Melba, are you able to bring Unison in?
Hi. Unfortunately, Unison's not on the bridge, so we won't be able to include him to close this out. So I'll just have to turn that over to you.
No, but I'm fine. just while you're here, you started off the series with the bereavement. What are your thoughts on this evening? And maybe you can just lead us out, close us out. Just put you on the spot.
Well, I've been here taking notes because through this whole pandemic situation, you see a lot of information. A lot of information is coming at you. And it's so sensitive when it comes to parents with children at home, especially young children at home. And I think we take a lot of things for granted when it comes to having to manage work-life balance and work-life balance when you're working from home and trying to educate your children from home. So I really love the commentary that emphasized on making what works for you. Some of us, if you have to, go on that webinar, but during lunchtime, just disconnect and spend that time with your children. If that works for you, take the tidbits that do work for you. And I love the comment about making it fun and those memorable experiences, because years from now, these children are going to remember this time and they're going to remember their experience this time. This is setting a precedence in history. So if you can make it a memorable time, consider all the circumstances where you bonded with your children and it was a great experience opposed to the opposite. So it was a really strong message. So thank you both. I thought it was excellent. I took a ton of notes that I'm hoping to share with the community. And thank you all. Thanks our viewers. Thanks everybody who tuned in, who's ever going to watch this recording after. We encourage you, as we continue this platform for CCaDiRA, to let us know what you want to hear from us. Let us know how, what you want us to, subjects that you want to bring us to the community. We are spread across different Caribbean islands, and we want to know what are your pain points that you're experiencing, and we can bring in the expertise to help you and give you advice out there in the community. So that's just one last thing that I'd share. And thank you, and thank you, Eunice. Thanks to Unison and our team, and to Hayden, and you did a fantastic job, all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. On that note, I bid you adieu. Good night to everybody. Peace and be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Be safe.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.